everybody. Welcome to another episode of Carolyn Talks Television. I'm Carolyn Topol, and this is my amazing co-host, Rachel Arnett.
Hello, everyone. It's been a while.
We've missed you, and now we're into the chilly season, so we've been warm and cozy watching some TV.
Very true.
Yeah.
My nice warm blanket, a bit of tea or hot cocoa.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
Or in my case, coffee or latte.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. But the thing is, there's just so many hours in a day. And to be honest, when it gets dark early, my eyelids want to shut earlier too.
5 o'clock for me.
Oh, yes.
Sometimes the yawn starts.
The yawn starts, but I hold out till 7:30 if I'm lucky.
I've been rocking an 8:30 to 9:30. I've been okay.
Oh, that's impressive. That's impressive. So anyway, we're trying to find out how to fit in what we want to watch, when we want to watch it, and how to prioritize what's the most important viewing for us.
But it felt like this year there were 15 shows that came out at once that I absolutely wanted to watch. I definitely had to.
I think networks underestimating because streaming went berserk this year with new stuff.
Yeah, and even network shows, which I can't remember a show on CBS or NBC that I've watched recently. This year I'm watching like 3 or 4, which is big for me. Usually I stick to Netflix, Hulu, and kind of go from there. Disney Plus.
And I have been shocked by some of the things I've been watching. For example, I have 2 brand new shows, and I'll start you with the first one because it is so brilliant. It appeals to everybody. It's called High Potential. I'll start with the name. So you all hear that. High Potential on ABC.
I haven't fully caught up with it yet, but I love it.
Okay, so High Potential, at first I was like, well, it's supposed to be sort of some black humor mixed in. It's about a woman who has really intense ADD, ADHD. Mm-hmm. She's also got a genius IQ. But because of her ADHD, she can't keep a job where it would be like sort of at a desk. So right now what she does is she goes from place to place as a housekeeper. That's how the show starts.
Yep.
She's a housekeeper, and one of the places she cleans is the police department. And she sees one of their case boards, or what we might have seen in TV shows they call murder boards.
Yes. And they love calling it on the show a murder board.
A murder boards.
Yep.
So she looks at it and realizes, because of her way her IQ and her mind work, and we almost see the synapses zapping, that they made a mistake.
Yeah, she's huge with pattern recognition, which anyone with ADHD tends to pick up on patterns pretty quickly. And so she identifies things that don't fit the pattern of a typical behavior or a typical crime scene or things like that.
And what she does is, unbeknownst to her, because of course it's a police department, there's cameras in the room, even when no one else is there but the cleaning lady, and she marks up the murder board with the corrections.
Yep.
And it's discovered, and ultimately she's offered a job, but is concerned about it because she's just not sure she could stick with it or whatever. But then there's a negotiation and there's a twist to the tale because she agrees to take on this job, which she does brilliantly without breaking character ever. Brilliantly. And in addition to her salary, there's a trade-off she does with the lead detective.
Yeah. And I can't remember the actress's name right now, but I absolutely love her because she's also the lead actress in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So there's that sardonic humor that's kind of built in that is just, even the ways in which she goes about handling situations, obviously not necessarily in line with police protocol, but for me, it kind of freshens up the police procedural a lot.
I'll give you one example of funny, because in my head I have never forgotten this line. Some of you may have even seen it in the commercial because it was that funny. And that's just telling you right here, the tip of the iceberg. Her ex-husband ends up being sort of her paid nanny because she does need childcare. because she's got 3 kids. And she's holding the baby, and he comes in. She gets a call, and she goes, "Oh, gotta go, murder," and hands the baby to the husband and the ex-husband. And it's hilarious. They don't miss a beat.
And even her family members that are involved in the show and her neighbors, every one of them just really fits beautifully into the story, whether their purpose is to add to her character or add a piece to the plot. Like, they just do a really good job in the writer's room, and the acting is beautiful. Like, I just enjoy it.
And while she's the star, it's actually very clearly an ensemble cast. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to be, well, it's all about her. And it's not a chick show.
Yeah, which a lot, I think, unfortunately, anytime there's a female lead character, there becomes
that element of
it's going to be a love story. She's going to do this. Her goals have nothing to do really with
romance.
And
in fact, just to let you know, my husband will not let me watch an episode without him. He loves the show. He adores it. He can't wait. It's on a sort of midwinter hiatus right now for a few weeks. He's like, wait, he goes, when is the next one of that show coming on?
I keep refreshing, like waiting for the new episode to come.
It's great. It's great. So I highly recommend it, and it's worth, if you DVR it, it's worth the 45 minutes. If you watch it live, it's worth the hour.
Yeah.
It's worth the hour, but it is at 10 p.m. because when they do show these murders, this is a grown-up show.
Yeah.
This is not a kiddie whodunit show, or whodunit light like Murder, She Wrote was years ago. There's some bloody scenes. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't have the 7-year-old watching with you.
Yeah, I agree.
I would say that. And now, Rachel, you had a new show that just started.
So the show that my mom and I are actually watching together, so we are a week behind because I had to miss a week with school events, the new Matlock series that's on CBS with Kathy Bates and Beau Bridges and Jason Ritter and just an amazing supporting cast.
First of all, as soon as I saw Kathy Bates was taking a TV show,
I thought, this better be the best TV show ever, because to deserve Kathy Bates, you better have something new. And
Beau Bridges. And Beau Bridges. I was like, okay, these 2 people signed up for a series. I need to pay attention.
It had me 5 minutes in. They start with a very clever introduction that really becomes the founding premise of the whole show, which is, if you are an older person, particularly an older woman, people stop paying attention to you and they don't see you as a threat, and they'll even look right through you. And it becomes about how she uses that to her advantage in the legal world. And she has her own reasons, which I won't spoil, but it's just the almost every single episode has had a moment of high tension and the moment of relief at the end. I just really enjoy it, and I want to know when every episode ends, I'm like, oh, I need that new episode. I need it to do the Hulu thing where they release all of the episodes in a season at once.
And just like I said, in High Potential, there's an underlying theme that goes through the whole series as to why she agreed to work for the police station. In Matlock, this older woman,
why is she coming back to a law firm,
also has, once again, you learn at the end of episode 1, her underlying reason for joining this law firm and working her way in brilliantly. Both shows very multi-layered.
Yeah. And I truly have enjoyed every episode so far, which isn't always the case for me with a lot of TV shows. There are some throwaway episodes. So far, this has been a tight season for me. I've really enjoyed it. I'm very sad that it's on hiatus.
Yeah, and that's
I'm probably going to rewatch it and see if there are some things that I didn't catch.
That's cute.
Because it is definitely one of those shows where you'll make a connection in episode 5 to something that happened in episode 2.
Yeah. Okay, now, something else I do not miss, also new. Remember I said I had 2 newbies?
Yeah.
Now, you all know that I talked about the food shows and those competitions that I get a kick out of.
Yeah.
There's a new one with a whole new twist, and I didn't think Food Network could think up anything new because some things were getting like season 422 on this kind of a challenge. No.
Top Chef, but with monkeys. Like,
Right.
they're just doing things.
There's a new show that Food Network created with a British studio.
Oh,
It
nice.
takes place in England.
Okay.
This show is filmed in England. It's called Harry Potter, Wizards of Baking.
Oh, that's awesome.
The hosts are James and Oliver Phelps,
The Weasleys.
twins,
The Weasleys.
Who
Oh, Fred and
shared-
George.
who shared when they were interviewed before the series started that they've always kind of wanted to be what they're calling TV hosts.
That's awesome.
They wanted
Oh, yes.
to be TV
in
hosts.
England, you are TV hosts.
They wanted to be TV hosts, and the entire show takes place at the studio where Harry Potter, the movies, were filmed.
Oh, that's cool.
And each challenge, as they reduce, and there's not a lot of people they brought in for this. It was like 5 or 6 of the very top cake and sugar and kind of artists, and there was only in pairs. They had to be Harry Potter fans because each week the inspiration for each challenge is a different space from the Harry Potter movies.
Cool.
This, for example, this past week was the second to last week. It was the semifinals. It was Dumbledore's office, and they bring them in. You are brought in with them as they're brought in for the first time to see the space where Dumbledore's office was filmed. And then they're each given an assignment about something from the office to make their
It's such a clever idea for a show because there are food fans and then there are Harry Potter fans.
And here we're getting both. Big time.
And they don't always intersect. But I think the idea of even just seeing the set pieces from the Harry Potter movies would draw me in, even if I didn't enjoy baking shows.
Well, that's it. I mean, and sometimes I'll walk away if they're, with their, they're measuring this and they're pulling sugar. And I'm like, all right, fine. Just keep running. I'm going to get back to the parlor. And the other thing is they're very smart. Mm-hmm. Every single show has a guest who was one of the stars of Harry Potter movies. So I won't even tell you who they are. Go back, go to Food Network,
and watch it.
On demand it, watch it. It's worth the time. It's a lot of fun. And I've got to tell you, the judges are great. One of them is Carla Hall, who many of us know from 7 million different things.
Yeah.
I'm not
when she talks, I listen. I don't even necessarily understand everything, but I'm like,
she scary.
Gets it.
She could. You have one too many specks of cayenne in this, and you look at her and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Because she's got a really refined palate.
And she appreciates the artistry. And one thing is, I'm actually curious with this. So a lot of British baking shows, like the Great British Bake Off,
right.
There's a much more kind of positive tone to it as opposed to some of the American cooking competitions where it feels like they're trying to create villain characters, villain chefs.
Right. No, that's
Is it
not,
kind of that same positive vibe? Everyone's doing what they got to do.
And I've noticed that most of the shows Carla Hall happens to be in, ironically, and the ones I choose to watch, to be honest, are a positive slant.
Yeah.
She's not there to bash them. Now, if she says, this, it doesn't taste right, something's off, she's going to say,
listen, yeah. But she's not going to be outright cruel and
she's
people
not going
are
to say
stealing
this
butter.
like trash and I'm going to spit it out in my napkin.
Yeah.
You're not seeing that. Although sometimes, like on her face, she'll be like, okay, you really wanted to add that lemon, didn't you? Like, she'll do something like that, and you know that this
You get the hint.
Way over the top. Mm-hmm. Now, I know you had something that was an older piece that you're devoting time to. So, like I said, this Wizards of Baking show is worth the time. Once again, you can use your fast forward button.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not a cooking enthusiast and you're watching for the Harry Potter-esque moments.
Yeah. So I know I've spoken about MTV's The Challenge before.
Okay.
It is a series that I have watched really since it became very popular on MTV. It used to be the Real World Road Rules Challenge, so it was two separate reality shows that kind of came together.
Okay, yeah,
And,
I know of Real World, right.
And now there are people who are involved from Survivor, people who are involved from other MTV shows, people who are involved from Big Brother, and they're doing their 40th season this year, which is insane. And it's the Battle of the Eras. And it's just really cool because they separated them out into teams based on like what they call the decades, but it's really 10 season bursts.
Okay.
And it's just, for me, the show, there were like 5 or 6 years where I wasn't really into it. They were spending a little too much time on the drama and not as much on the challenges themselves. But I mean, there are challengers who are my age, if not a little older, who in the last episode were in a car, hot wiring the car using some kind of process. Then that car went off a cliff. They got pulled out of it, had to get lowered in to then do a puzzle. And it's just like, it's very high octane. It's not my typical show, but I think because some of these personalities that have been on the show, I've been following now for 20 years, since I was a teenager.
Okay.
It's just, it's like you're cheering for your friends at a track meet, but that track meet is covered in alligators and fire. I don't know.
Okay, then. That is definitely a generational thing.
Yes.
I'll be honest.
Absolutely. Zach will watch it with me, though.
Yeah. And her son get a kick out of it. He's a middle schooler.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and the thing that's cool is as newer people have come into the show, they've started to focus a lot on the things about the people that make them unique. So one of the top competitors right now is an autistic competitor who was a super fan of the show and is now on it. And it's just, it's so cool to watch him like compete against his idols and then sometimes work with them, but sometimes use what he knows about them to take them down. And it's, there's a mystery puzzle. There is drama. There is relationship stuff.
I like that.
I like it. No matter what, even if I miss a week or two, it's on my DVR and I make sure that I watch it.
Oh, cool.
And it's a wonderful just escape show for me.
Now, what I'll let you all know, okay, it sounds like all I do is watch TV. And no, that is not all I do. But what I've learned, and I think would be great, so you don't miss out on these shows, because first of all, I'm sure in your generation, MTV Challenge is being talked about by other people. You're not watching it in a vacuum. Yeah. And for me, other people are watching these, let's say, Food Network shows or High Potential, that kind of thing. And you don't want to miss out. And I'm not saying this is like a peer pressure thing, but you want to be part of the conversation.
Well, and at work, it's, what used to be water cooler talk.
Right, exactly.
I had one of the classroom teachers at the school where I work came in today, and I just happened to mention the name of another show, Irrational, that I've been watching.
Okay.
And it immediately, we spent the next 5 minutes discussing like theories about different things and how much we loved the show. And this is someone that I didn't necessarily talk to all the time. So there's build connections.
There's a reason to tune in sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's not just I watch and that's it. But what I do is mindful watching is what I realized I've started doing. Because with the advent of streaming, you just have too much going on in your life. Yeah. And look, it's impossible to watch it all. It's impossible to catch up with it all. There were things I gave up. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm one of those people. Bridgerton just didn't make the cut for me. And it doesn't mean it's a bad show. It means when I was prioritizing my likes,
there were other things
there were other things that rose to the top, and Bridgerton kept getting pushed down more.
No matter how many times people tell me that I would love Yellowstone, I just have not had the chance to start it. And now I don't know that I can do, I think it's on 7 seasons. I don't know that I can commit to watching 7 seasons of a show now. And that's okay. I will gladly enjoy hearing my friends talk about it. But I just, with all of the other things I was watching, it just never made the cut.
And the other thing I've done, like I said, mindful viewing, is I've thought about, like sometimes I'll DVR 20 things. And I also have a book I'm reading. And I also have commitments with other people. and I have volunteer work I'm doing. You have a full-time job you're doing, amongst other volunteer things you do as well, and being a mom, a second full-time job.
Yes. Picking and choosing.
So I've been much more selective, and then like I said, I've DVR'd these 20 items. Most of us at this point have some sort of DVR type device, if not a DVR itself. Mm-hmm. And then what I'll do is at the end of several days, I'll say, okay, am I really going to watch this? Yeah. Is it going to happen?
I'll DVR anything I think I might watch, and then I'll go back through and say, you know what, that sounded really cool, but I don't know that I'm going to spend 3 minutes on this special about ham radio.
And I'm going to tell you.
Let it go.
Here's a household ha-ha for the DVR, okay? My husband does work full-time. Mm-hmm. And he works for a major aerospace company some of you who live in Connecticut may have heard about. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. So he works very long hours. And there are certain things he loves, though, and one of them goes back to his high school years when he lettered in fencing. Mm. So when the Summer Olympics was on, he recorded, and I did for him as well, some of the fencing events, which, by the way, were not on the main channels most of the time. So finding them was, in and of itself, a challenge. So there's no way I was going to get rid of them once I found them. He still has 3 of them to watch.
And at this point, we know who won.
We know who won, and we're working on the next Olympics. So just putting it mildly, we're only a year away from the next Winter Olympics. Okay, let's be real here. But he's giving himself to the end of 2024.
Fair.
To watch those last 3.
Yep.
I don't want to call them episodes, but segments, whatever, that were fencing, that were recorded on whatever alternate NBC network they were on those 3 times to finish watching the fencing.
Well, and if you're a sports lover right now in general, there's so much between the end of the football season and, not the end, the mid-end, and basketball starting up now.
That's right.
And those are just the mainstream sports. Never mind, my dad watches literally anything on ESPN College. Like, he'll watch college wrestling, college lacrosse, college field hockey, college curling if it existed.
Syracuse University football, which sadly is over. Yeah. But I watched that for a while when I could. It didn't end too soon either, so it was an exciting year, just saying.
And that's never mind if you want to leave your house.
And that's the thing. Yeah. You have to sit and look back at that DVR, look at the book that's staring at you saying, okay, is it TV time? Is it TV time? Mm-hmm. Is it TV time? Or is it book time?
Or if you're my generation, is it TikTok time? No. Oh, I'm sorry. Technically, it's the younger generation, but I may or may not spend some time on TikTok.
Or in my generation, is it puzzle time? Because people like me who want to keep our minds active, I do 7 puzzles a day of different sorts. Yeah. Going from the
Wordle
to Spelling Bee. If any of you are New York Times aware people, there's a thing called Spelling Bee. That's a good challenge. And I challenge myself in ways that you're not supposed to in Spelling Bee, but that's okay. Makes my mind work even harder. I do certain challenges that your fingers have to move fast on your phone. There's time. So try to figure out how much time you want to make sure you give to the not TV stuff.
Yeah. Balance is important in everything. I definitely have reduced my TV watching from when I was a teenager, especially with, like you said, all the different responsibilities. But that's why I think it's been important for me the last year or so to really identify, I want to watch Matlock on a weekly basis. Everything else I can catch up on.
And the other thing is, for example, I still watch Jeopardy. If you actually calculate Jeopardy, if you've DVR'd it, I think there's maybe 22, 23 minutes of show. Yeah. So it's easy to catch up on if you want to wait till the weekend to watch it. Other things I've noticed, look, I've said this year after year, I love my Hallmark movies. Mm-hmm. not just the holiday ones. I love the Hallmark mysteries, and now it's called the Hallmark Mystery Channel. It's no longer movies and mystery. It's a Hallmark mystery. You look at that
specifically.
If you look at, you want to find the Hallmark Mystery Channel, that's what you type into your guide. I'll DVR those movies. I will be very critical though, which is funny when you're talking about a Hallmark movie. You're like critical of Hallmark
There are
movie.
quite a few that are better than others.
So I'll start watching.
Yeah. There's some that you can tell were written by AI. It's just brutal. It's brutal.
And what I'll do is, or you could tell some were written by somebody who you wonder what the purpose was in the movie, because nothing is coming out like
halfway through the movie. You're not even sure if you like you'd want them to fall in love.
Right, and the chemistry, you're like, okay, who hired these two actors because they're really good, but just not as a couple? I could care less if they got together.
Yeah.
So frequently I have found my little finger on that fast forward button.
Yeah. My mom will fast forward through a lot now. At one point, I looked at our DVR and there were 35 Hallmark movies. But to be fair, she's semi-retired now. So she has the time a lot more than she did when she was working.
Look, I'm
40 hours.
Retired, but I still want to be an active person, and sitting on myself and watching Hallmark movies 24/7 is not that. So I will find myself fast forwarding through a lot of them. There are very few that I actually watch the whole movie and just fast forward through the commercial.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, commercial folks
I'm
who
not
make the commercials. I apologize to you. There's just so much time in the day I can't watch the commercials too.
No. Which is, I think, why so many people move to streaming.
Yes.
And streaming without commercials. When there is something on my DVR now, I'm like, fast forward. And now, especially that some DVRs have like smart fast forward.
That's only on the networks.
The best. It's the best.
Smart fast forward on your network. If you see those cute little yellow bricks in the middle of your nice long blue line, usually I think this is an Xfinity thing. I don't know if it's Frontier also offers it. If you see the little yellow brick, hit fast forward. It'll do it for you and it'll end right before your next segment of your show starts. But just saying, it's worth making the time.
Yeah, because there are some
certain shows that are
still worth it.
And devote the time to sitting there and watching them.
Most recent one prior to that for me was Agatha All Along, which was the Disney Plus.
Disney Plus show.
Oh, I loved every minute of that show. Every moment I spent watching it felt like a victory for my consciousness. Like, it was just intriguing and wonderful. And so there was no way I was missing that show.
And I'm just going to give you one heads up of something I literally just saw yesterday on Max. It's an HBO network, HBO Max. If you do happen to get Xfinity, you get it with your system. Nice. It's a documentary about Christopher Reeve by his kids.
Oh.
It's outstanding. For Rachel and myself, give yourself viewing time and enjoy. See you next time.